We need to have a talk about entrepreneurship and the truth about entrepreneurship because I'm going to be honest with you in this video, like I always am, by the way, but specifically in this video, I didn't jot out any type of notes. I didn't organize it with a bunch of data points and facts that I want you to know about certain things. Even though I know that you're going to still get value out of this video, and I know that so many people are going to benefit from really the insight that I want to bring and the different scope and landscape that I want to introduce to you. And that has to do a lot with the fugazi, that has to do with the entrepreneurial world. A lot of us are involved in the entrepreneur space, in the business space. And if you're really involved in it, then you know that it's not all glitz and glamour. It's not just flash. It's not just riding around in the rollie with the bus sound rollie. It has a lot more to do with what you think up here, what you feel in here, and what you actually do with these when you're putting out your work. Again, this goes beyond content creation. This goes beyond the digital space. This is for even if you run a brick and mortar. The entrepreneurial space is not for the faint of heart. And if it came to me making this video for you to really understand what you're getting yourself into or what you've gotten yourself into, then welcome. Because I think that far too often we tend to look at what's out there in the social media world, where you'll see someone posting they just bought their new house, or they just added another $120,000 to their portfolio, or they just had another $25,000 day, or they just sold another 100 products, or they just filled up a room with a fantastic seminar. And while yes, I've seen it with my own eyes, those things are real. And yes, those things do come. And yes, I've had my fair share of successful stories, which I've shared here on this channel. I also want to bring out the other side, which is the blunt side, which is a side that a lot of people don't normally like to talk about. That's the burnout side. That's the I spent $100,000 on marketing to get maybe 1 or 2 leads and it didn't go the way that I thought. Or I spent 4 months trying to design and create this product or trying to scale this service, and it ended up flopping and I ended up actually losing money in it. You see, when you're working for yourself, it's more than just let me put a title, let me get the LLC, and let me put this out there. And people are going to buy from me because they like me, they know me, and they trust me. While part of that is true, there's also a big learning curve that ends up happening, because a lot of times when we get involved with entrepreneurship or when we're growing our businesses, we come from the point of, well, if we like this, then everyone else must like this. And that couldn't be any further from the truth, because oftentimes we have to learn to get out of our own heads and get into the head of the actual marketplace, into the head of the consumer. How do they think? What do they like? What's their problems? I heard something so profound that it really even took me back in my own seat, even though I'm sitting down, right? It took me back in my own seat because I heard this from a 7-figure, actually 8-figure at this point, 8-figure CEO, where he says, if you're not able, he told one of his sales reps, and I was listening to the call, he says, if you're not able to connect with the person that makes $15 an hour, you've lost the game. And I think that far too often we tend to look at everyone that's up here, that they're so disconnected from everyone that's living a normal life, that even in the way that they speak and even in the way that they articulate their message, you start to think to yourself, this person has no idea what's going on in the real world. This person has no idea what the average person is actually going through. And so I started thinking about that and how that actually relates to up and coming entrepreneurs, and how that actually relates to someone who's been trying to scale their business for a couple of years now, or someone that has no idea what they're doing or where their next client is coming from. And I started thinking, wait a minute, it could be fine and dandy for a select group of people, but there's still a greater majority, because we know that right around 92% of small businesses fail within the first 2 years. Either everyone is succeeding on social media or someone is lying. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with the middle part of that. And that's the fact that no one's actually talking about the struggle of what it means to be an entrepreneur. The late nights, the early mornings, the lost relationships. Know this, you are either going to sacrifice your time, you're going to sacrifice your money, or you're going to sacrifice your relationships. Now, there's a couple of things that obviously happen within that, and maybe there's a few different pockets that you can fill of things that you sacrifice or things that you lose along the way. But know that if you do want to bring it to a high level, at least for a certain given point, you will have to sacrifice one of those three, or if not all three of those areas. You see, we have to get comfortable with being unbalanced, or being balancedly unbalanced, if that's actually a word that I can use, right? Balancedly unbalanced pretty much means that you are kind of juggling between having family time, going to watch your kid's soccer game, and still running your business. And then when you're not running your business, you still kind of have to oversee your employees, if you have that type of business, and what they do with their lives, and kind of attend to them. But then you also have your clients, and you're kind of handling all of these different emotions that's just not your own. You're kind of managing these different personality types, these different personality styles that's not your own. And one of the best things that you can do for yourself is sometimes disconnect from everything and get yourself rooted and grounded back into what your core truths and what your true beliefs are. Because what that's going to do for you is you're going to ultimately end up refueling yourself. So when you do go take on that big project, or when you do go out and speak to that one client that you're just trying to land, or when you do go out and you speak to those brands, if you're in the social media space, or if you're in the social media world, you're actually able to piece together what it is that your message is, without having such a diluted, or a, what we can say, constrained version of what you really want to put out to the marketplace and to your audience. Far too often, I see people where they give up a little too early. And I know that we hear this a lot, and I know this gets cliche, but it really is the truth. They gave up far too early just because they tried one or two different ways and they didn't make it, so this must not be for them, or this must not work for them. But they were just one or two tweaks away from really hitting it off. One thing that I've discovered, and I stay true to this, whenever I'm going through some seasons where I'm tweaking things in my business and I'm wondering, is this gonna work? Is this gonna fall flat? I always think this one thing to myself, and that's this. If you want to be successful, it's far easier on the back end, but it's very difficult on the front end. Versus if you just want to live a mediocre life and you don't really care about leaving much impact, it's a lot easier on the front end, but it's far more difficult on the back end. And those are words that whenever I'm going through cloudy moments, and whenever I'm going through times where I wonder if this is going to be worth it, or I wonder if it was worth, or I wonder if we should have maybe kept doing what was working rather than what we're experimenting with now, I always have that thought to myself. Because it's far easier to go from bad to good, but it's a lot more difficult to go from good to great. So I wanted to share that with you. Again, wasn't planned, wasn't jotted out, didn't have any notes on me, but I did want to kind of leave you with that resonating message of entrepreneurship, apart from what you see on social media and apart from what other people are probably telling you. It's not all glitz and glamour. That's just a byproduct of something that you've done successfully at a high level. So stay true to your core beliefs and continue to work on things that you can control. If you found value in this content, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Join the official community. Don't forget that anytime I'm not posting on here, I'm posting over on the Inside with Irv show. So if you like what I have going on over here, you'll love what I have going on over there. Once again, I appreciate you guys checking me out. Till next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.